Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Untold with Ozzy. I am your host, as always, Ozzy. It's a beautiful day to do a recording session, actually. Vancouver has been blessing us. It's been quite sunny. And I thought that it's a good day to maybe talk about techniques to study for long periods of hours, study or work. And the reason I specifically chose this topic is because I've started studying for my nursing board exam, which is called the NCLEX. And I really had to sit down and think about what kind of study methods and study strategies have been working for me in the past. And I had to kind of ask around, read up on it a little bit, try to figure out something that would work for me. The only difference from the past and now is the fact that I have to study for long periods of hours and I have to be dedicated every day. So it takes a lot of focus, motivation, and you really need to stay self-disciplined to be able to do this if you have a certain goal in mind. So let's get comfortable and let's begin. So whether you are a student preparing for an important exam, which can determine the course of your life or your career in the future, just like me, or you are just a lifelong learner and you're passionate about your work, maintaining extended study or work session is hard, and it kind of requires a combination of effective strategies and self-care practices at the same time. The number one thing that I came up with is optimizing your environment, your study or your work environment. It can really impact your productivity and focus. So you have to create a dedicated space that works for you. It can be in your house, it can be somewhere in a library if you go to school, or it can be, some coffee shops actually do. If you do go to a coffee shop and if that works for you, that's okay. Maybe not for extended periods of time. You know, when I say works for you, I really mean it, literally. Keeping in mind that it has to be for extended period of time. For example, I cannot focus in an environment with complete silence. I know it can be weird, but I grew up with my sister in the same room for 9 years, and I'm just used to having a minimal noise in the background noise. It can't be complete silence because that's how my brain adjusted, and that's how I maintain productivity and focus. So if I'm in an environment where it's completely silent and there's no sound, it's just me, I keep getting distracted. So when I go to the library, I don't even go to the silent area. I just kind of sit in the common area, but I find a space for myself. I try to go early. If I go to the library, I try to go really early, find the best spot in terms of the temperature, if there are a lot of people come and go in that environment or not, if I like the length, the height of the desk, and if I like the chair. It does impact it. You don't have to be this sensitive about it, but it kind of is important to me. So yeah, make sure you find a spot for yourself and stick to it. If it's a corner in your house, you put a desk there, it has a really good lighting, good temperature, everything's great. You set up your laptop and your monitor and everything, you're ready to go. Just stick to it. If you go to the library and you find that one spot that works for you, go there every day. And I know it can be filled up, so try to go early if you can. Go to that one spot that always works for you. Or maybe just have a couple spots, maybe 1 to 2, maybe 2 to 3 kind of spots in the library, just so if you did go and it was already filled up and somebody was sitting there, you can go to the other one. But the best way is to keep it the same, because keeping your environment consistent and optimal allows your body and mind to kickstart that study mode, focus mode, as soon as you enter that space. And that is the main reason that I'm saying that's how you can optimize your study environment. A lot of people have issue with how to break down their day and how much time they have to dedicate to each study session and each study interval. I think that is the hardest part. How long should my break be? When should I take my break? And I think this is the biggest issue that people go through, trying to plan how to study for long periods of hours or work for a long period of hour. So breaking down your study session into manageable chunks can make the task you're doing feel less daunting and more achievable, which is good. There is something called the Pomodoro technique, or there are so many other similar methods out there, like Pomodoro method, where you basically reward yourself for completing your to-do list. I love making to-do lists. Or like the flow time technique. And there's so many other ones that you can go and read up about it. My inspiration was from the Pomodoro technique, where you basically have 25-minute study sessions. The method that works for me is not exactly like 25 minutes or anything like Pomodoro, but it's kind of been inspired. Like I've tried different study intervals, trying to see what works best. And I have spoke with so many other people who have studied for their board exam or other important exams that they've had, or some people who work from home. But I think the most practical and effective way, from my personal experience and the fact that I've been asking around, is kind of sitting down and dividing your study session into an hour and 15-minute chunks. As I said, now the Pomodoro method is actually 25 minutes, but we're just using it as an inspiration, which can actually differ from what actually works in real life. 1 hour and 15 minutes has been the most optimal and effective interval, at least for me and for some other people that I have been asking and talking to. But this part that I'm gonna talk about is the most important part, so focus and stay with me. I know every day that people wake up, they just have this like rush and feeling of overwhelming feeling that, oh my god, so like where should I start, when should I start, like how should I start. The point is that as soon as you wake up, you do your morning care. Just go to your study space, whether it's in your house or it's outside. Like get ready as soon as you can, head out and go to the library. Or if it's inside your house, wear something comfortable and just go sit behind the desk and just start. Don't think, don't eat, don't drink, don't do anything beside the morning care. Just go sit down and just start. Like open your laptop, open your notebook, whatever you study off of, and just start. Don't think about anything, because as soon as you start thinking about the how and the to-do list and then making the little boxes and all of that, you just feel so overwhelmed. Like I know from personal experience, because I love organizing things and being organized and making to-do lists and checking them off. And I've always, for a long time, actually, I used to do that. So as soon as I would wake up in the morning, I would make my to-do list for the day, and it just made me feel like I want to procrastinate now. I don't want to do it. And I just felt stressed out, and it was just not good. So recently, at least for the past 3 weeks that I've been studying, as soon as I wake up and I go to the bathroom and I brush my teeth and have just like, a little bit of water just to clear my throat, I go and sit down behind my desk and I just start studying from where I left off like the night before for an hour and 15 minutes. So let's not forget the study intervals are at 1 hour and 15 minutes. So just sit down, do it for that 1 hour and 15 minutes. And then as soon as you're done, make sure you do record your starting time so you don't forget. You can always have a little timer, but for me, the timers are really daunting and it just never ends. So if I'm using my laptop, I just write down the start time, and then at the top of my laptop, or like if I'm wearing a watch or something, or my phone, after a while you just kind of feel like, okay, it's probably been an hour. So that's where I just check my phone, or I just check the time on my laptop, and I'm like, okay, it's been like an hour or something. And then I just kind of keep a watch. After that 1 hour and 15 minutes is done, step away from your study or workspace, and now you're basically free to take your basically this is going to be a long break, because you're going to have breakfast or whatever you eat or whatever you would have done in the morning to energize yourself, to basically, you should be already up by then. At that point of the day, you should already be up. Like, you should not feel really sleepy because your brain has kickstarted and it's been working. So you should be up by then. But if you need something to energize you, I usually try to have a good breakfast. Has proteins and there's vegetables and I have a little bread, something that would energize me and keep me going for another 4 or 5 hours at least. You can grab a bottle of water, go to the bathroom, sit down, relax. Like, basically you are training your mind that, okay, when I sit down and I'm studying for this hour and 15 minutes, I can't do anything else but this. This is what I'm supposed to focus on. I'm studying, I'm sitting down, I'm looking at my textbook or my laptop or whatever, your iPad, and this is what I'm doing. You're not getting up for anything, not even bathroom. You can't do that. You need to train your mind that in this period of time, I'm sitting down and I'm doing the work. Eventually, maybe the first time's going to be hard. Maybe the first week is going to be hard. But the more you do it, the more your brain gets trained and it'll stick to this routine. And then after this long break, you go back to your study session, study for another hour and 15 minutes. And after that, try to take 15-minute breaks. So get up, stretch, have some water, go to the bathroom. I don't know, talk to someone in the house. If you have friends who also are tagging along and studying with you, talk to them if they're also free. You can go on your phone, doesn't matter. Do whatever you want in that 15 minutes. You're free to do whatever, but you only have that 15 minutes. If you want to achieve your goal, you need to discipline your brain. You need to train your brain and your body. It'll take a while for our body to get trained and used to something that's maybe not what they've been doing every day in the previous years or weeks or whatever. But again, as soon as you start, it might be really difficult for the first week, for the first 2 weeks even. But then slowly your brain gets trained to wake up at 8. And then you sit down and then you don't get tired as soon as you sit down, and it'll just be less tiring and exhausting as you go by. So yeah, for the next 5, I guess, not even 5, maybe for the next 3 to 4 hours, try to take 15-minute break, depending on when you have your lunch. It can kind of differ. Probably, I think the hardest part of the day is between 3 to 5 p.m. It can be really hard. I know, it can be really, really hard to sit your ass down and be like, I need to study. It can literally feel like death. And I know. So it's really important not to have a heavy or even moderate meal in that time frame. Try to have something light, maybe a light meal or maybe a light snack, whatever is your diet and your routine, stick to that. Just make it lighter. Don't have a lot of greasy food, something can drain you and make you sleepy. You need to keep yourself energized and light. So have a light meal. And if you're the kind of person who takes afternoon naps, because your lunch break is also an hour, you can probably take a power nap, 20 minutes, half an hour. I do recommend, instead of taking a nap, going for a short walk. It does really energize you and it can really boost your energy. So once you come back and you've actually gone outside, so you're not stuck inside the entire day, or inside the library the entire day. I know it can be really gloomy and dark and not fun. So yeah, in that 1 hour lunch break, I do recommend having something light and going for a walk, or the other way, go for a walk and then come back and have something light. And then again, you come back to your 1 hour and 15-minute routine study sessions. This doesn't work for everyone, but if at some point you feel like I can push my 1 hour and 15 minutes up to an hour and a half, go ahead and do it. But you don't have to. I think maybe sticking to something that's the same for each study interval should be better. But if you can, that's all right. You can like push it to an hour and 30 minutes. Go ahead and do it. Extending it by 15 minutes shouldn't do a lot of harm or anything. And again, depending on how many hours you want to study throughout the day, you can adjust your start time and then finish time. One other thing that has also been working for me and I have been trying to do is after I have dinner, I still try to sit down for another hour, just 1 hour, and review my notes. Just review my notes, just kind of like go over what I did throughout the day, just read off of it, not even like with that much focus. Just gonna look at it, like go through the pages. If you write it down, scroll through it. If you use your laptop or your iPad or even your phone, just kind of like go through the material that you studied, and then call it a night. And yeah, I think this kind of routine can work really well if you just stick to it. If you stick to it, it can work really well. It's okay if you can't do like 8 hours straight the first day. It's all right. You don't have to push yourself that hard. Maybe start with smaller chunks, like start with 3 hours, 4 hours of study time throughout the year, and like slowly you gain strength to sit down and focus in that time period. So we talked about study environment, an optimal study environment. We talked about how to break down your study or work sessions throughout the day. And the next 2 items that I want to talk about are really important in maintaining this study and work regimen that we just went over. Because if you also don't do these things, you won't be as productive and your study sessions won't be as effective. So the number one important thing is being intentional with the material you are working with or studying. You really need to be intentional with what you're doing. I read somewhere that doing something intentionally helps moves you towards your goals. So remember, within that time frame, try to engage with the material that you are working with and you're covering or you're studying. Try to be intentional and not passive. Care about what you're doing. It's definitely easier said than done. It's going to be harder in the beginning, for sure. It's going to be harder when you are probably doing it from that 3 to 5 p.m. Time period, or just a bit later when it's dark out there. You just feel like the exhaustion kind of like creeping in. But if at any point you feel like you're being distracted, you're daydreaming, you're just wandering around and not being able to focus, just step aside for a minute, grab a piece of paper, and just write down all these like jumbled up thoughts that are just kind of creeping in and like making you daydream and like making you all distracted. Just write it down, try to get it out of your brain, and then get back to your work. This has been really helpful. It has been a really helpful method of redirecting myself in terms of like focusing. And it does really work, I feel like. So give it a try. If it does work for you guys, leave a comment for me. If it doesn't, let me know as well. That's all right. The second important thing is prioritizing self-care. If you want to maintain this long period of hour of study and work sessions, you need to also prioritize self-care. You're dedicating so many hours. It requires proper self-care. You can't just like not do anything about yourself. Otherwise you'll be super tired, you'll be exhausted, and you probably won't be able to do it more than a month. And that's like the best case scenario.
Should I sleep or should I shower? I can sleep in the shower. Oh, but I'm also starving.
So we already input regular appropriate breaks within this breakdown that we already went over. During the break, make sure that you do stretch, Rehydrate, as I mentioned. Nourish yourself with healthy and small snacks, nothing heavy. Don't drink coffee. Coffee makes you jittery. Coffee makes you want to go to the bathroom all the time. It can upset your stomach. Replace your coffee with water, lots and lots of water. So again, back to rehydrating. Sometimes so for me, it's really hard for me to drink a gallon of water or whatever. It's just like really hard to drink water. I barely drink water throughout the day, but ever since I started this regimen, like study regimen for myself, I just have a tiny jug of water. I put a little bit of lemon drops in it just so it has some sort of a flavor. It's nothing bad, nothing sugary or anything. I just put some drops of lemon so it has some sort of a flavor, so it's easier for me to drink the water. You can also do that. Try to incorporate small movement while you're sitting down and studying. So every once in a while, try to move your eyes to other directions, because your eyes are so focused either like at the laptop or your iPad or like looking at your textbook. Your eye muscles get really exhausted. So every once in a while, try to move around your eyes, look to different directions, up and down. You can also move your neck around. It's okay to just stretch your arms while you're sitting down if you can't get up and you are in that 1 hour and 15-minute period where you're studying. You can do all this stuff while you're sitting down. Stretch your legs a little. It's okay. Like wiggle your toes, all of this stuff. I know it might sound really weird, but they do get the exhaustion out. Out of your feet, out of your hands and fingers and your neck. So yes, as I mentioned, prioritizing self-care is really important in maintaining this very hard and very, like, you have to be really disciplined with this study and work regimen. I'm going to leave you with one thing though that I actually learned this morning. I saw a video and it was again talking about different methods of like how to be disciplined and like how to study. It's called the wabi-sabi method or worldview of like embracing the imperfection. I know there are a lot of perfectionists out there. I myself, to an extent, I am a perfectionist. So there is a beauty in accepting imperfection and impermanence and simplicity. Don't be super hard on yourself. Be kind towards your shortcomings. If there is, occasionally you feel exhausted and you feel lazy, you make mistakes, try to make small improvement. Don't be so hard on yourself. Don't be mean to yourself. We're all human beings. Our bodies have limitations, so we can get tired too. And you don't have to be perfect or expect perfection from yourself. It's okay to feel lazy sometimes. It's okay that maybe you couldn't finish this chapter today. It's okay. Try to make small improvements every day. Try to make up for it the next day by just extending your study period by another half an hour. You can do all these little things of like making up for that lost time. Because if you're too hard on yourself, then you can't probably keep up with this long periods of hours of like studying and working. So I'm really hoping that using this study method, you'll be able to unlock the door to academic success and success in your work and your career. If you're working on projects or proposals or anything, try to remember that you need to be patient with yourself and this routine. It will not build up from like day one. It never did for me. Slowly you'll be able to get there, and you can do better as you go and you do it more. As I said, you might be able to study just for like 3 hours or 4 hours the first day. But rest assured that it'll get better and it'll improve as you just stick to this routine. I really hope you found these insights from my personal experience enlightening and helpful. If you do, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and please leave a comment for me. Let me know if there's anything specific in terms of study tips and organizational tips that you want me to cover, because right now I'm studying so much. These are all the things that I'm kind of like going through. So anything that I find out that can be helpful for you guys, I will make sure to make a video about it and put out a podcast track as well. Thank you guys for staying with me to this point, listening and watching. I really appreciate you guys, and I really appreciate any support that you give me. And stay safe until the next episode.